Welcome in, Rise and Shine. It is Target Score Winnipeg, our weekly show. Going a little early today, Tay. Typically, we do this on a Wednesday or a Thursday, but with everything happening, there's practice later today I got to get to as well. They play on Wednesday, so our typical time would be too close to the nick of time. So we said, hey, let's get up a little early this morning and have ourselves a show. Follow us at Target Score Pod on Instagram. Stay tuned for updates there, as well as here. Oh, I always forget to turn that stupid music off.
It's a good tune, man. It's a good tune. It's worth playing a second time. So I'm not mad about it.
It's all right. But yeah, then follow us on Target Score Pod on Instagram at Taylor Allen 31 at Joey Slattery TV, and of course you're already here on YouTube. And if you're not and listening to the audio version on replay or watching this in replay, at Target Score Podcasts in YouTube. So happy to have you along. I'm pumped. There's already people in the comments here. We didn't give much notice on this one either. Cam was the first one here even before we went to air saying, let's go Bears, teal party. We got John McTavish in here. Would love to see the den all decked out in teal. Love it, man. Oh, we even got XO204. What's up, man? I finally figured out who this is, actually. It's our buddy Eric, day one fan, huge Sea Bears fan. No way, we got an early pod. Let's go. Yeah, dude, we got an early pod, and we got a ton to talk about. The post game was nuts. I think for us, I had to rewatch it, and I'm like, man, like there's just so much to cover, and I didn't really have time to kind of process what was happening, and there was just so much excitement in the comments. Tay, how have you been these last couple of days? Thanks for getting up early here and getting this off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had time for my usual pre-pod routine of some green tea to kind of soothe the throat and some scrambled eggs to get some protein in me. So I don't know, Joy, might not be rolling on all cylinders this morning, but the Sea Bears, obviously, they definitely are. And honestly, man, it's been really cool these past few days how many people have reached out to me who don't really follow basketball, don't really follow the Sea Bears or the CEBL, just to say like how excited they are. And they're asking questions, And funnily enough, I was covering the Bombers practice yesterday, and I was interviewing Willie Jefferson. And then after I finished asking him, football questions, he says to me, man, how about them Sea Bears, right? So like he's jacked too. The guys on the Bombers are talking about the Sea Bears as well. So the whole city, seems to be really kind of bought in, which is great to see.
You know what else is big? Friend of the show, Jeff Hamilton, aka the Hammer, on assignment this week for a Sea Bears preview too. So when they're bringing in Jeff Hamilton,
first time ever covering the Bears. Okay.
When they're bringing in Jeff Hamilton, this is a big deal, right? Jeff only saw his first game. Jeff Hamilton is the best because he followed the Sea Bears through us, and he had full blown, knowledgeable and research takes based on what he would hear from the show and the stat sheet. And we finally talked him into going to a game, and he loved it. And he loved it so much that now he's becoming part of the Sea Bears media team. Or when I say team, not like for the Sea Bears, but the media. And so this is a big deal, Tay. And I want to bring this up too because I see these guys are talking about it. Nice meeting you yesterday. This is the one I wanted to bring up. Good seeing you at the airport yesterday. For those listening or watching that don't know why, John McTavish and XO204 met at the airport yesterday. It wasn't just by chance. The Sea Bears actually had a welcoming party. There were people at the airport welcoming the Sea Bears back from Vancouver. They got back late yesterday afternoon. That is typically saved for championships or takeoffs, but that's how excited people are, that people are showing up to the airport. I mean, the Western Conference Championship is, it's not the end goal, but it's a huge milestone for this team that has not won a playoff game, and suddenly they're Western Conference champions. So, obviously the excitement is high, and but we got to turn the page. As great as that game was today, it's not a lot of time to turn around. It's better than the turnaround they had from the conference semifinals to the conference finals, but they arrived yesterday. Imagine they had the day off yesterday altogether. They practiced today. Then they're off to Brampton tomorrow. Believe they have a practice in Brampton when they get there, and then they play Wednesday. Brampton in the same boat, except Brampton didn't have to travel. So Brampton's going to be a lot more rested for this first game. They have not played away from home yet these playoffs.
For sure. And I am, people have been talking in town about, packing the den and, wearing teal and whatever, like lots of our commenters have commented. But I'm curious to see what the vibe is going to be like Wednesday night in Brampton. I mean, this is the only game they're getting, right? If it goes 3, Winnipeg's getting 2 of them. And, if you watch that East final, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of Honey Badgers fans in the
It's very
crowd
Niagara
there.
dominant.
And it was. And you know what? At the same time, though, I don't think many people were expecting Niagara to knock off Scarborough. So I don't know. There wasn't really a lot of time for Brampton to, I guess, promote that game. I don't know. But now there's been a few days leading up to this. So there should be some time for them to market this and really get the word out and stuff. So we'll see what the Sea Bears are walking into. It might be kind of a quiet atmosphere, which might benefit the Bears, obviously, or maybe Brampton will wake up and support this team in the final. So that's what I'm kind of most curious to see, honestly, heading into Wednesday.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm thinking it might be a disadvantage to the Sea Bears if it's quiet in there, right? You go from Winnipeg to Vancouver to Brampton. It could be a little bit of a wake up call or lack thereof, maybe a sleep call. But I've also heard that there are a lot of Sea Bears fans. If anybody on the chat is watching the show live and you plan on going to this game in Brampton, let us know. I am going to be in Brampton, Tay. I've made the decision. We're going to be doing some live shows from Brampton, doing some Instagram reports, hopefully as well. So I'll be landing there tomorrow, hopefully picking up on practice from tomorrow. Definitely the morning shoot-arounds on Wednesday, and I'll be back Thursday, obviously, and get back into our Winnipeg thing. But I'm not missing this day. This is the biggest away game in Sea Bears history. It's going to be a historic moment as soon as the ball tips off, and for everybody here, tune in because I'm going to bring it all back to Winnipeg as best as I can. So looking forward to that. But I do think you're going to see a fair Sea Bears contingent because, as you know, Tay, and it isn't just here. Like it's a similar story with Saskatchewan with the Riders, right? Those teams tend to travel well. Those cities tend to travel well. And I expect that there's a lot of displaced Winnipeggers in the Toronto area, and they are going to have their teal and getting to that Sea Bears game. I'm sure of it.
Well, it was cool in the West Final, Joey, in Vancouver. Behind the Sea Bears bench, it seemed to be a solid amount of people wearing some Sea Bears
Yeah.
shirts and whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's always cool to see when a Winnipeg team is playing wherever and how Winnipeggers. There's a lot of former Winnipeggers all over this country, really. So I'm sure in Brampton there'll be a few for sure. And again, seeing how few Honey Badgers fans there might even be more Sea Bears fans than Honey Badgers fans on Wednesday night. So that'll be kind of cool. But congrats to you, man. That's awesome that you're going. I mean, selfishly sad that you're going to be bailing on our potential target score watch party that we were kind of in the works. But hey, if you can be there in person, props to you. And you got the benefit of having some family out there that you could crash with. So
yeah,
makes sense, man. Good for you.
It was tough. Like I figure it's better to go out there. I know a lot of people can't be out there. Watch party. Not to say it's not going to happen. What we're going to do is we're going to try and figure out the local establishments. Maybe we can throw one out to you guys so you guys can go there together. It's much more fun watching it with friends, right? And I know a lot of you guys, we just saw that John and Eric met yesterday. So let's keep that going. Let's get the community going. If you guys want to go out, we will definitely reach out to some establishments and see where they can go. So stay, again, at Target Score Pod, at Joey Slattery TV, at Taylor Allen 31. Between the three of us, we'll make sure to keep you updated on where things might be happening. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. But as we look ahead to Brampton, again, I think the one benefit for the Sea Bears is they're in travel mode right now, right? They were in Vancouver, back to Winnipeg, back to Vancouver, going off to Brampton. Like this is almost part of their routine, and they know it's the last one that they ever have to do, right? For this year, like this is the last road trip. I think I don't know where the advantage is. Obviously, you want to be at home, but I would rather have games 2 and 3, right? So worst case scenario, you drop game 1. And it's not the end of the world. You have a lifeline this time around, right? So as much as this is an important game, whichever team wins can't get too high. You still have to win that second game. And same thing, the team that loses, I think there's that sense of, okay, like, pressure's off. We just got to go back. Now we got to win 2 in a row. Like we lost 1, but we have that second chance. But as important as this game is, I don't think you get too high or too low, regardless of the outcome.
Joey, do you think there was a single person in this country that predicted that Brampton and Winnipeg were going to be in the finals? I mean, we've covered to death, the week that was for the Winnipeg Sea Bears leading up to the playoffs, obviously, but in Brampton's situation, I mean, they were 2-5 heading into the postseason. It's not like they were rolling on all cylinders either.
Wow. But here's the thing. I actually had this conversation with the guys in Brampton. This actually was the prediction preseason, right? The Winnipeg Sea Bears.
Preseason,
Yeah,
sure,
100%.
but I'm talking like a weekish ago, where it's anyone saying Brampton, Winnipeg finals.
Oh no,
I don't think so.
I think you're right. It's just funny that it's full circle. Like this is what like how often does a preseason prediction come into play, especially after what you just said? Because at the time, no one knew what Scarborough didn't have a team announced or any roster members until like a day before their training camp. So Scarborough was out of the picture, right? And then they go on their run. But even at the start of the year, Tay, like you go to the halfway point of the season, I was saying that Brampton was the better team than Scarborough. Then I ate my words. I had a little humble pie like Taylor cousin Tay's had over the last few weeks, but I had to eat it because I'm like, maybe they're not. And then they started sliding, right? And then Winnipeg, the way that their season ended, for sure, everybody counted them out, right? Like everybody counted them out against Saskatoon. And I will admit, I was a lot more confident in the Saskatoon game than I was in the Vancouver game. When I was watching that Vancouver game, all that was going through my head was, how do they sustain this? Like I thought Shamar Givens was, going to go off and take the game into his own hands, or, Mitch Creek was just going to go, full beast mode or something. But also they did such a good job defensively at keeping Vancouver from getting any kind of rhythm in that game, right? And anytime they did get some rhythm and did go on a run, Winnipeg kept them at arm's length. Like it was a phenomenal game, inside and out for Winnipeg. But that whole time, I'm like, and I said it last game, it was that Xavier Moon and 1-3, right? The shot, the shot that you said is probably going to be the greatest shot of all time, at least so far for the Winnipeg Sea Bears. That was the first moment in the game where I thought, maybe they're going to win this. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but maybe this is actually happening. But I thought until the fourth quarter, because I remember Vancouver in that Edmonton game, they were down that whole game. It took them till the fourth quarter to come back and beat Edmonton. So that's what I was thinking. I'm like, Edmonton had this kind of promise before, and look what happened. So I wasn't ready to count the chickens. But on the same token, I'm thinking, can Vancouver do it again, right? But I was more confident in Vancouver making a comeback than Winnipeg, because they were just playing so well for the whole game. Like usually it's ebbs and flows, but there was a lot more highs than lows in that game, a lot more peaks than valleys for Winnipeg.
Well, honestly, it felt every time that Vancouver was just starting to mount a comeback, someone on the Sea Bears would hit a three, and you could just feel the whole gym and Langley kind of deflate after that as well. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that the Sea Bears were even up in the fourth quarter is like, wow, this is incredibly impressive in itself. And it's like, okay, well, can they hang on? I don't know. Like we were kind of texting back and forth basically after every possession, right? We might as well been on the phone with each other. It's like, okay, well, they're up in the fourth, but I don't know if they can hang on to this. This is gonna be tough. But man, that was such a gutsy performance in that fourth quarter. Those guys look so comfortable playing with the lead, and when Vancouver did get a bucket or two in a row, no one on the Sea Bears were panicking, and a bunch of different guys were stepping up and scoring. Mostly Simon Hildebrandt. My goodness, we could spend another hour just talking about Simon and what he meant to the team. So, yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, because it was the first time they've been to the West Finals, the first time they've earned a trip to the West Finals and whatever, and won it. But that was far and away the most impressive game in Sea Bears history. I mean, the Saskatoon win was super impressive, but with everything going against Winnipeg, going into Vancouver, a team that they've had a lot of struggles against recently and whatever, is kind of like, okay, this is, and playing on the road too, and that setting, was like, okay, this is going to be really, 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 really tough. And the Sea Bears looked as comfortable as ever. So yeah, it's been a crazy, crazy, crazy week. That's for sure. But Joey, this upcoming week might even be crazier. We'll see. Still lots of basketball left to be played, which is fun.
Well, even just the fact that they're hosting games 2 and 3, right? Because everybody was crowning Scarborough before the season even started, and they had a first round exit. So it's the other cool part about that is you have a week to build it up, right? It's Monday, and they don't play in Winnipeg until Saturday. So there's a game in between there on Wednesday that I'm sure is going to be highly viewed here in Winnipeg. And then that's just going to build the excitement one way or the other, because it's either going to be a desperation excitement or an elated excitement going in to game two. And I'm curious to see what kind of adjustments they're going to make, Tay. Like, I texted you, I texted Chris Wiggins too. I remember early in the game, I'm like, I just think Vancouver's too big. Zimmerman was in the game, Mitch Creek was there, Tyree Samuel, and
Samuel had
Winnipeg.
a bad game, man.
He
We
really, but
didn't
here's
touch
the
on that
thing.
enough, I don't think.
No, we could get
I
into
kept
that.
waiting for him to like, hey, this dude's gonna take over any minute now, and it's like,
But
dude,
that's been his whole season, Tay. Like, he went from being Canadian of the Year last year to just a subpar version of what we saw last season from Tyree Samuel. Like, he'll get, double-digit rebounds, but like a lot of them are at the defensive end, and he's barely cracking 10 points this year. Uh, honestly, I thought because of what was on the line, like you, I was like, okay, if Samuel gets in or if they get him activated, and I kept thinking back to that Tillman Ottawa game, right? Like if he gets a couple blocks and if he gets, a massive dunk and gets that confidence up, gets the crowd into it, like it could be over. But credit to Winnipeg, because I didn't see it at the time as a great decision because they were getting burned, but they really made a point to put a body on Samuel when he was on, Zimmerman, and having that extra support for Mitch Creek. There were a couple times where they were too overcommitted to Tyrese Samuel, who wasn't really doing much, but they wanted to take away the rebounding, right? Because he is the best rebounder on that team. He's the tallest guy, the strongest guy. But then they made the adjustment where they were still able to get that body on while getting the help to come in on the guards. Like, they weren't finding lanes as easy as they were in that first quarter. And that's where I thought Vancouver's too big. I thought, like, there's no way. I understand what they have to do, but this is just conceding that Winnipeg is too small. And, Vancouver's just going to utilize those bigs, wear down Winnipeg, and, rope-a-dope them and then take it out at, like, latest the fourth. And then they abandoned it. Winnipeg did a good job, and then it felt like Vancouver in some ways was trying to play small. Like, they had Mitch Creek out beyond the perimeter a lot, which I thought isn't where you would want him in this game. I thought, you'd kind of do some work in the high post, maybe work with Tyree Samuel doing some, cuts from the inside to get each other open for some easy layups. But they really wanted Mitch Creek outside, and I thought that played right into Winnipeg's game plan.
well, the Camps comment, I think the Sea Bears can do it in 2 games. Joey, is it fair to say that the Sea Bears are the favorites? I mean, and this will be their first time being a favorite this whole postseason run in. What does that potentially mean for these guys? I mean, they've had their backs up against the wall. No one, not many people like their chances against Saskatoon, even though the Sea Bears were playing at home. And then, like we said, against Vancouver, really no one liked their chances at all going into that game. So it's like now, after these back-to-back incredibly exciting, impressive wins, you're playing this Brampton team that, again, not many people thought were going to get through Scarborough and maybe even Niagara, honestly, because Niagara is a whole different beast when it comes to the playoffs, right? And now it's like, okay, now that the Sea Bears are potentially the favorites, what could that mean, Joey? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I want to say that Winnipeg is the favorite because they're the higher seed, right? So I mean, I guess on paper they are. But I think there's a lot of. I'll say this: I think Brampton's bigs are a little more athletic than Tyree Samuel. Trenton Flowers is like on the cusp of the NBA. Bias aside and cheering aside, you're going to love watching Trenton Flowers. He wasn't in that game where they beat Winnipeg in Winnipeg. He was dealing with an injury. He's healthy now. That guy can jump out of the gym. He's got that hair. Like, I don't know if you remember NBA Street Volume 2, right? The big afro. Like, he carries that afro. You'll spot him immediately. But then they've got Tyrese Hunter, who hit that game-winning shot, who looks like Sean East, like when you're watching TV, because like they're that good. Sean East is a guy who is Sean East is PO'd, man. Like, this is a guy that wasn't in the MVP, like didn't win the MVP last year. He's not in the MVP race this year, at least not a front runner. And this is a guy that has been trying to prove how good he is. He's one of the best scorers we've ever seen. He had the record before Teddy Allen for points in a season, points in a game. Like, he went off in the playoffs even last year against Calgary and nearly upset Calgary in the first round. Like, Brampton smells blood too, right? Like, and they know that Winnipeg's getting all the love. They know that the media attention's coming to Winnipeg that they're not getting. And in some ways it's less of a distraction. But they've got shooters like Cam Tyson, to put this in perspective, Tay, has shot and made more threes in the NCAA than Steph Curry and JJ Redick. That's a stat.
Okay.
That is a stat. So this guy, when he's on, can hit from anywhere. Now he's had some games where he couldn't hit the side of a barn, right? So you're kind of hoping for that to make it as difficult so he doesn't get into rhythm. But here's a dude that has hit, and he grew up with Zach LaVine. He played basketball with Zach LaVine in his driveway growing up in Seattle. So, I mean, this guy is a pure guy. Trenton Flowers, a guy who played with Bronny James, in high school, and was a blue chip prospect going into college. And he's a guy that, like a lot of dudes, I've talked to a few coaches that are in the G League side of things, and they believe that he is going to be at some point in the NBA. Like it's just some fine tuning for that guy. And you have Sean East. We haven't even touched on Matthew Moncrief or Keon Ambrose Hilton, who, Ambrose Hilton is better than he was last year. A lot of you might remember him from Edmonton. He's a better version of that this year. He's got great chemistry with Sean East. They played together last year too on that pick and roll. But Moncrief can tear down those rebounds. So I think it's weird to say, but I think if they're clicking, this is a more complete team than what they saw in Vancouver. Remember, Vancouver was a team that, didn't have Mitch Creek most of the year. He came in last minute, play a couple of games. Their coaching changes. There was a lot of other things that kind of, messed with Vancouver a little bit, I think, in the end of the day. Brampton's been, hey man, they've went through their licks and now they're feeling it. They've won a couple of big games here and they find themselves in the championship. I don't think they're taking anything for granted.
I think one of the laziest takes in sports journalism is, well, this team has the best player, so they're going to win. This team has the biggest superstar and this guy's won it before, so that's why they're going to win. Like, I hate that stuff, honestly. But honestly, I might have to play that card, Joey. I mean,
I thought you were just taking a big rip at me there for a second.
No.
Man, day sucks in the morning.
No, but you'll watch whatever talking head on ESPN. Well,
yeah,
the Lakers are going to win because Luka Doncic is the best player. And okay, well, there's still a bunch of other factors at play than just that, but whatever. But anyways, for the Sea Bears, though, I have a hard time, really wanting to bet against those guys, knowing that they have Xavier Moon. This guy clearly takes his game to a whole nother level when it's the playoffs. And he's won this thing before. This is just another day in the life for Xavier Moon. Or Brampton, yeah, they're loaded. They got some talent, man, like you said. But have any of those guys been at this point and been the guy that whose job it was to get it done, lead his team to the promised land, like Xavier Moon has? So for Xavier, this is old hat, man. And just watching those games, Vancouver and Saskatoon, like he just has this team humming along right now, and where everyone's getting involved offensively, right? Like sometimes when you have such an elite score, and this isn't a knock on Teddy, this is just in general, but sometimes when a team has such an elite score, sometimes it can be like a blessing and a curse in a way, because like a possession, you almost feel silly if that guy does not have the ball in his hands, or like that's not the guy taking a shot, right? Yeah. But now the Sea Bears team is like, okay, well, we don't have that, that walking bucket anymore. So really now everyone's kind of getting involved and getting their touches more so than they previous were. So now they're like, it's like, shoot, like who's going to be scoring now? Like who's going to, sorry, I mean, like as a defensive person, like a defender's like, shoot, who's going to be scoring on these Sea Bears now? Like all these guys are capable of knocking down threes and driving to the basket and getting the job done. So they're just so more well-rounded, it seems now, and versatile. So yeah, but just the way they've been playing, man, like it's just been like a real team effort. And yeah, guys like Simon and Xavier are putting up 20 whatever points, but like
there's a lot of role
totally there's just so many guys that have been involved. So that's, for me, that's what impresses me the most. Like you can have games where a guy drags you to victory and scores 40 plus whatever, but like you can't consistently have that happen in the playoffs. So just the style that the Sea Bears are playing right now, I have a hard time seeing them losing this thing. And that might be the last thing that people want to hear, because my predictions this playoff run have been atrocious.
Yeah.
They have been atrocious, but you're right. You gave me some time to think about it. I did sleep on it. I did some homework, watched some stuff and crunched some numbers. And yeah, man, like I just think this is the best the Sea Bears have ever looked, honestly. So I have a hard time thinking that they're gonna drop the ball. But again, this is their first time kind of being playing with expectations, right? It was house money against Saskatoon. You could just feel the nervous kind of energy in that building, early on, because people just weren't expecting anything from the Sea Bears. And then in Vancouver, people just kind of I think in a way, Sea Bears fans are just kind of happy to be there to an extent, right? But now that you're in the finals and you're playing in Brampton, I think people are like, okay, now people are expecting a championship. And if the Sea Bears don't get it done, this run is still so incredibly impressive, don't get me wrong. But I think now there's expectations. There's more pressure than there's ever been.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think this game out of all of the games is like, which is funny, is the one where I think fans are most confident based on the way they played for sure. As I mentioned in the post-game show and in the pre-game show last game, Xavier Moon's not lost a game in the target score era in the playoffs. He's undefeated, right? This is his third time going to the finals, and he is 2 for 2 in the first two he was in, right? With Edmonton, where he was, three-time MVP, finals MVP. With a win here, he's well on line to add another of both of those to his name here. He's not going to get the MVP this year, but he certainly, I would be shocked if he didn't get the finals MVP or the playoff MVP. And honestly, as much as they've not been here, Tay, he's kind of created here, if that makes sense. I mean, he was the first, big name guy. In the first year, he lost in the semifinals to one Alex Campbell and the Saskatchewan Rattlers, who ended up going on to win that 2019 title. So even in the year he didn't win, he was knocked out by the team who did win the very next round. So, Xavier Moon is a game changer. And, he's said it time and time again that, this isn't pressure. He loves this. Like, this is just, it is just another day, as you've said, for him, right? He understands the gravity of this. I don't think it's underplayed or he's playing any, mind games of himself to stay cool. I think this is just him. Hey, man, like, this is what the expectation was. This is what I was preparing to do, was to lead this team to the promised land, and here they are, right? The big difference here is this is for all the marbles. I feel like, as you were saying earlier, right, when you're working up the mountaintop, playing with house money, it's like, yeah, you know what? We haven't been here before. Okay, we won our first playoff game. Awesome. All right, okay, pressure's off, right? Second game, go and play a great game on the road, expected to lose, you win that one. Well, now you've won 2 in a row. And people are thinking, well, you've also beat Saskatoon, who was the hottest team at the time. They were 6-1 going into that game. And you played Vancouver, who demolished you just a few days earlier in that very gym, right, to get that home game. It takes a lot of courage and guts to pull out a performance like that, especially after you were essentially embarrassed. Again, and they knew the travel. They didn't get too into it. They didn't, even I said at the time in that post-game day, like when they were walking off the floor from that regular season game against Vancouver, didn't strike me as guys that were totally deflated, right? It was like, okay, last game of the year, we didn't get 15 wins. We let Joey down and his prediction. We have to live with that for the rest of our lives. That, he was so close to calling a perfect record this year. But we're gonna take our wounds and we're gonna go get prepared for the playoffs, and that's exactly what they did. The other
actually
thing,
on that note, Joey,
yep,
that means I win because you went over. So we play Price is Right rules, right?
No,
so
I didn't. I said 15 wins. I went under. I'm 1 under, so technically I still win.
No, you went over. Then they ended with 14 wins, didn't they?
Yeah, so I didn't go over.
Yeah,
over
you
would be 16.
You predicted 15 wins.
Yeah,
and they had 14. You went over.
How are you going Price is Right in reverse?
What are you talking about? You went over.
I guess over to me would be 16. If they got a 16 win, I would have bet with going over because they would have got one more win than I predicted. But Taylor, whatever makes you feel better that I was on the tee of getting it almost perfect. And you know what? That is maybe a little bit where I'm frustrated with the Winnipeg Sea Bears. More than anything, selfishly, they didn't get me my prediction. And that hurts my feelings a little bit, Tay. But you know what? At the end of the day, I will take your theory if they win the championship. I will gladly wear that as the guy who bet over on the predictions that led to the good fortune of the Winnipeg Sea Bears. And at least I wasn't poo-pooing on them going into the playoffs like some people, right? So
everyone was. I was just.
You were the man of the
I'm
people.
the only one that has a stupid microphone who gets put on blast when I do it. But trust me, everyone I talked to was poo-pooing on them. So I don't feel that bad about it. I really don't.
That's so funny. But yeah, I just remember thinking that, like, as bad as the game was, they knew that everything was stacked against them. They knew that, it wasn't going to go well. They didn't have Trey McGowan's. And you know what, man? Props to the team for getting them there in style. They did not let it get to their heads. Like, I think that was a little bit of motivation. Like, hey, team went above and beyond to get us here in real time so that we can go through all of our routines, and they lived up to their end of the bargain. And Trey McGowan's is a game changer in that game. I said it from the first loss. I remember I was talking to Arash Madani before the last national game against Brampton, and I was telling him, Trey McGowan's is going to be in that next game against Vancouver, which he wasn't, surprisingly, but I think that was a little gamesmanship as well. Because I thought with his size and his athleticism and his defensive abilities that he can switch off to, a forward and handle his own. I think that was a massive game changer. I know his stats didn't pop like some of the other guys. I mean, but he had the dunk that really set the tone when he dunked on a streaky, I wouldn't say it was a poster, but Mitch Creek comes streaking by and he just winds back and throws it down. And my favorite thing about Trey McGowan's, no show. Just I threw it down.
Act like you've been there before.
Yeah,
act like you've been there.
And I think that is an invaluable asset to the Sea Bears, having a guy like Trey McGowan's, not only for the athletic ability, but for what we just said.
Well, you might have just answered my question, Joey, but I was going to ask you. I mean, we could talk about Xavier Moon all day long, of course, but for the Sea Bears to win, it can't just be Xavier. So for you, who is kind of the X factor for the Sea Bears going into this series? Who's that guy after Xavier Moon, or even the second or third or fourth down the line that needs to really step up and deliver for the Sea Bears to get this done?
Honestly, it's tough after last game, dude. Like, I felt like everybody filled in a role perfectly. I would say what needs to continue is Isaiah Osborne. Isaiah Osborne needs to shoot that ball consistently. He doesn't have to shoot the lights out, but he's got to be taking the right shots at the right times. There were a couple times in that Vancouver game where I thought the rock went up a little quickly. Some fell, some didn't. And Isaiah was one of those guys who missed one, and there were no rebounders around, right? So I think it's Isaiah Osborne, who is a very high IQ player. You ask any coach he's played for or has played against him, the one thing they will say about Isaiah Osborne is he is a very smart basketball player, and he's phenomenal on the defensive end. So I'm not worried about his defense. I'm worried about if the rock isn't falling, he will continue to shoot, which is what he does, but also getting the right shots. If he's going to shoot and miss, I'm hoping that he's doing it in a way that is a shot that lent itself. Like, he's not looking for the shot. He's in the spot that allows him to get rebounders in place, because it's going to be just as important here against Brampton to get those rebounds. So I would say the X factor is going to be Isaiah Osborne shooting, and I will go secondary to Trey McGowan's, because Trey McGowan's, it's not about the shooting percentage, field goal percentage. It's about how he moves the offense and how he moves, how he reacts on defense. He's a guy that doesn't get a lot of gravity sometimes, right? When he's dribbling through, they tend to collapse on him. But if he can hit a few shots, keep them honest, and, attack from the inside, it gets the defense out of sorts where you kind of have to challenge them to play man, right? And again, even going man-to-man, I don't know if their athleticism is that much better than Brampton. In fact, I think Brampton might be a little more athletic than Winnipeg. But Trey and Isaiah are my top two guys to look at. And then Jelani Watson-Gale, I'm not going to mention him in here, but he is getting more minutes, and he's played really good in that first game. I just don't expect that from him. Like, the first game, I think you got everything you needed from Jelani in the playoffs. He lifted you, to new heights in the playoffs, got you that win at home. So Jelani, I'm going to give a break, but he just has to be consistent. I think it does fall on Osborne, who's going to get more minutes than Jelani Watson-Gale and Trey McGowan's. They are not going to get a lot of rest, I don't think, in this first game against Brampton, unless they can run up the score a little bit, and I'm not confident on that.
So your X factor is 6 different guys. I like it. Love it.
Osborne, I'm ranking them. We got Osborne is first. Trey is 1B. And then Jelani. Actually, Jelani, I'm talking myself out of the X factor. So it's really just 2 guys.
Okay.
Who's yours?
Well, I'll go somewhere different. I mean, I think it has to be DJ Burns. They're shorthanded when it comes to big guys, right? And he's 6'7", and he has to use every single inch that he's got. I mean, he's been playing big for this team. The game in Saskatoon, he was fantastic. In Vancouver, took a bit of a step back, getting into foul trouble, and that was kind of scary for those Sea Bears, man. I mean, Kyler Filowich had to play 10 solid minutes, and he did just that to his credit. But, I mean, they need DJ Burns out there on the 100%. Floor as much as possible, and can't be turning the ball over as much as he did in Vancouver as well. He had the bad travel call, and he lost a handle on 1 or 2 as well. But Yeah, man, you need a guy to do the dirty work. You need a guy to set the screens and grab those, those tough rebounds in traffic and dive for loose balls and, get those deflections and, swat some shots around the rim, be a bit of a rim protector. I mean, not quite at the level of Jeremiah Tillman Jr., but DJ Burns has some hops, man. Like he can make some blocks, right? Like we saw it in Saskatoon where he sent Tavian Dunmartin's shot, one of them into the
Sent that
second
ball
row.
back to Saskatoon.
Exactly, literally, right? So yeah, I think DJ Burns has to be big, man. I mean, him and Simon, after those two guys, like it's like, okay, Ben Stevens, Kyler Filowich. I mean, how many minutes do you really want those guys out there on the court in the finals, right? But another thing too, I mean, the Sea Bears in Vancouver, they shot what 52% from the field. They shot over 50% from three, which is numbers like that, Joey. Like a team, you're almost unbeatable. Like there's only so much that the opponent can do when you're playing a team who's making more than half of their 3-point attempts, which the Sea Bears were, and all these guys were hitting threes, right? I mentioned on the last show they had, I think, 6 guys hit at least 2 3-pointers. Can you really sustain that? Probably not, right? Like you can have these awesome shooting games, but can you shoot the lights out, 3-4 games in a row? It's not likely. So for the Sea Bears to win this championship, I mean, they're gonna have to find a way to probably win ugly at least one of these games, right? You can't just continue to bank on everyone shooting the lights out, because we've seen it. Like Isaiah Osborne, before these playoffs started, like as great as this guy has been most of the season, like shooting slumps are a thing. This guy was 4 for 30 in the 6 games heading into the postseason, right? 100%. So you can't just keep relying on just the 3 ball. Obviously, it's an important part of this team, and again, they're undersized, so you gotta, you're gonna live and die with it a little bit. But I'm just saying you can't bank on this team to shoot at that level every game, because it's not going to happen.
So looking at the first game, the one against Saskatoon, they were 42% from the field and 33%, 13 for 39 from 3-point land. In that game against Vancouver, they were 18 for 34 from 3, 52%, and 56% from the field. That efficiency, as you mentioned, is phenomenal. I think they have to get close to that 50 mark from just field goal in general, right? If those shots aren't falling from 3, we've seen the ability of some of those guys to create their shots from within. This team has a better mid-range game than last year's team. And you saw Xavier Moon, dude. Like Xavier, I don't know where Xavier Moon's spots are. It's like pretty much anywhere. Like he'll take it down to the baseline, just inside the perimeter, just outside of the block, or he'll take the 3. He's hit from the elbow. He's hit from the wing inside. Like he's got a lot of mid-range game, and he can float. And that's the other thing. It keeps the defense honest, because he's got that little, deceleration step that can build a little bit of momentum against the defender and then go in for like that little whoop. That little lay-in that he does. And the lay-in's crazy because he's not that tall, and he does jump like incredibly high, but he gets so much arc on his tip-in. Like I've never seen anything like it. Like he legit off the fingertips, and I swear it goes another 6 feet in the air before it drops in like the cylinder with nothing but nylon. But I think that's where you depend on those guys. Like if the shots are not falling from 3, the Jelani Watson Gales, that's where Jelani could have a big game. Jelani has a great game off the dribble, like shooting off the dribble mid-range. So if they're not falling from 3, maybe you need him to get inside a little bit, get those shots up, and then they all have to fight for the rebounds. I think this game, Taylor, I know Mike Taylor keeps saying expect lower scoring games, expect it to be in the 80s. Part of me thinks this might be in the hundreds. Like I can see that these teams getting in a track meet. Like Winnipeg's defense it has been their calling card. We haven't seen as much transition as we saw in the first, 3 quarters of the season. And I think that's by design with playoff basketball. Possessions become more important. You can't really cheat on the wing and try to get that, outlet pass. But I do think with this team, like they're just both naturally fast. Like we've seen Xavier Moon. Sometimes it's not outlet passes, right? It's just Moon throwing it into 6th gear and going straight down the middle, and it looks like a transition play because he's just sprinting down faster than everybody else, right? So I think there's going to be a lot more of those where you're not necessarily going to see the nice pass, to borrow the hockey term, an odd man rush, but I think you're going to see some confusion with Sean East and Xavier Moon. They're so quick, and they get to the paint, and as soon as they get there, it's pretty much game over for the defense because they've got so many options and they're so quick at making the reads that I can see this game with those two particularly, if they're playing the 30-plus minutes as they have, they're going to stir up a lot of offense.
And another big thing that was so impressive about that Vancouver game was that Xavier Moon was in foul trouble and they still pulled it off, right? Like it was like as soon as he picked up his third foul, I was like, oh boy, here we go. They were a nice story while it lasted, but so many guys stepped up. So yeah, as great as Xavier Moon is, I mean, this team has so many guards that can, run the offense and score in bunches, right? So they're a well-rounded, dangerous team. But just to show how much confidence Xavier Moon has, I mean, Joey, I kind of wish he made that shot to seal the game. I think he was like kind of fading baseline off of like 1 foot is a very difficult shot. And like just the confidence that he has to take a shot like that in a moment in the game like that. It's like, okay, this guy, he's not afraid of the bright lights.
There's no stage too big for him, and I think that is the biggest advantage between both teams. None of the other players on Brampton, like none of those guys are even close to playing on the last Badgers team to win a championship in Hamilton in 2022. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think they have anybody with championship experience, at least in the CBL.
I don't think so either.
Right. And even though Tillman's not here, he played the entire regular season. He understands the grind. And I know they're in the group chat, like the Tillmans and the Acots and the Teddies, like, they're still very much a part of this team, even though they're not playing. So there's a little bit of experience that comes with that as well. And then no one has more experience in that regard than Xavier Moon in this series, which will be the deciding factor. Okay, so Cam is saying Mike Taylor. Come on, Joey. Did I say Mike Taylor? I'm not sure what happened. Oh, yeah. My bad. Was
too many mics? There's too many mics out there.
Was I talking about Mike Rainbow? I don't even remember what I was talking about anymore.
Mike Rainbow. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here let's get it all corrected here. I apologize. Thanks for keeping me accountable, Cam.
But hey, speaking of Mike Taylor, though, he just got a new job.
Recently. Florida Atlantic University.
Assistant coach. Good for him.
Congrats to him, man. He's close to home. I feel happy for him because I know. It's tough. That guy's all over the world. He's got really good ties in Germany. He's coached there a bunch. He's coached their national team. What's that? And Poland, Poland as well. So I'm happy for him. He's got a young family, and Florida Atlantic is an assistant there. I think he's a lead assistant. Great fit for him. Nice and close to home. And there's a lot. We can say this. There are a lot of young men that are going to go into that program that are going to get great development and great character building through a guy like Mike Taylor. So I'm happy for him to get that. And I think I know college hasn't been his route, but I think it's a good stop for Mike Taylor. Back to Mike Rainbow. Canadian Brax says Rainbow has the team playing like a small team should, fast, pressing D. He deserves a coach of the year look. I will be shocked if he's not champion. I'd be shocked if he's not a finalist at the very least. Mike Rainbow has done a phenomenal job going through the highs and lows. This guy has been even keeled. And, Taylor, you and I know we've covered him in U Sports. He's the same with the University of Winnipeg. I've said this time and again. His Westman teams are built a lot like this current playoff version of the Sea Bears. They tend to be small. Their bigs tend to be a little bit smaller, like a DJ Burns. And he tends to get the best out of guys who might have been overlooked or undervalued. And there are some guys on this bench who may have not been publicly, but based on, import rules and playing time, that might have been. It might feel that way. And Mike Rainbow has a way of getting these guys to perform at the highest possible level. Mike Rainbow's no stranger to major championships. He's still not won the national championship, but he's been there many times with the University of Winnipeg. He's won a championship, a national title, while he was out at UNBC before he started his tenure at UW. That would have been the CCAA national championship. So he's won some and he's lost some. He's been in this position before. He knows both sides of this. It's new as a pro, but at the same time, look what he's done as a pro coach in his first year. So I think this team is well built for this. I also think there is an underlying benefit to Mike Rainbow being the coach as a U Sports guy. The teams are built different. This team doesn't feel like a star team, right? The Mike Taylor teams had a star. They tended to go around one guy. They were open about who they were building the team around. This is not that. And I think there's a development aspect to these practices and how he's treating the guys that they appreciate. He brings that university grit, that Canadian university grit, where, you got to be working hard all the time with the style of play that is, Canada West basketball. And I think it's rubbing off in the best way on this Winnipeg Sea Bears. He knows, and that's the thing. He knows what he's going to get from Simon and Mason Krause. He's coached against them. He's coached them in provincial things and camps and things like that. He knows those guys. He knows their style of play. So while some people might be surprised that a Simon Hildebrand or Mason Krause can step up in these moments, I think the only person that's not is Mike Rainbow. And I think for the Americans that come in, the G League guys, they're going to walk out of here better players than they walked in.
Yeah, I don't care how many points or rebounds whoever got on the Sea Bears, like the game ball in both of those playoff wins, to me goes to Mike Rainbow. Just to have those guys playing the way that they were and having the confidence and not falling victim to all the distractions going on as well. So whatever Mike Rainbow's preaching, whatever he's doing, whatever it is, it's obviously it's working and cool to see. Just again, as a Manitoba guy, doing it in Winnipeg for the Westmen and for the Sea Bears too. So yeah, it's been awesome to see for sure. But Joey,
you know what Rainbow would do with that game ball?
Give it to someone else.
No, he would take that and he would punt it in the river.
Yeah, there you go.
He does not want the, you know what I mean? That's the other thing. He's
I totally get that. But I'm just saying, like, that's
100%
impressed I am by what this coaching staff, not just him, Alex Campbell and the rest of the staff.
Hilarion Bonham, Jeremy Walenga, all of them. And you know what? He picked that staff by design, right? I remember earlier in the year before the season started, he said, I pick guys that I like being around, that, are fun to be around, but also understand me in the sense that, they need to know when to talk to me, when not to talk to me. Like they know I'm going to be more upset than I probably should be after a loss. And they know when to talk to me and bring me out of it and turn over to the next game, right? There's a chemistry with this coaching staff that I didn't exist to this extent before. There's 3 Brandon connections. I don't know how many people from Brandon are watching right now, but Mike Rainbow's from Brandon. Jeremy Walenga's from Brandon and coached at Keanu College in Fort Mac. He's won a national championship. They coached together at UW for a brief time where Jeremy Walenga was his assistant, and they grew up together in Brandon. Hilarion Bonham played for the Brandon Bobcats as a player and now coaches their women's basketball team and just coached that team to their first playoff berth in 9 years in his second year as head coach.
They were in rough shape before he got
Very rough shape. Hilarion has done a phenomenal job. Alex Campbell is one of the better assistant coaches, in U Sports as well. This is a guy who's primed for a head coaching job. It's coming soon. I'm sure of it. He's built, he's done a lot of great work in development at the University of Saskatchewan, working with Jamie Campbell, who's also an assistant with the Saskatoon Mamba. But all of these guys, and the other thing with Alex, he was playing just last year, right? So he's got that player connection that the other coaches don't. And Mike Rainbow keeps talking about his phenomenal ability to recruit. He got all these guys, right? He was the guy talking to them, selling them on Winnipeg, selling them on Mike's plan. When he gets that head coaching job, I think he's going to be a phenomenal head coach on the recruiting side of things. But those guys, like the whole coaching staff, to your point, Taylor, deserve a lot of credit. They work very cohesively. And as I was saying about Mike Rainbow, like this is what he wants. Like as much as he's leading this realm, he doesn't want the spotlight to come away from the guys unless it's taken a negative spotlight. This is a guy who I think has done phenomenal in his first experience with the pros. Listen, UW gets media like twice a year, right? Preseason, and then postseason, and maybe the Westman Classic if the men's basketball team is involved.
Whoa! Us at the Winnipeg Free Press, we consistently cover U Sports. I'm going to be honest, no one else in this market does, but the Free Press, we certainly do. Are we there every single day? No. But we do. We do cover them a decent
but how many
amount.
TV cameras?
It could be better, of course. But yeah, TV cameras, absolutely. Yeah.
This is what I mean. Like he's not doing daily media every day with the Westman, right? And usually it's pretty, and you know how it is, Tay. Like I'm there.
Pretty casual. It's you.
I'm there every week.
Yeah.
I'm literally texting like, hey, can I come to practice at this time? Can I get a quick interview before you start practice? And they're all like him and Kirby Shep with the University of Manitoba as well. Are all very great. Even if they start practice a little late, I'm very grateful for that. But it's a lot different. It's just kind of like come as you go, like direct. You're talking directly either to the reporter or their communications person. There's no scheduled media after every practice. And I thought he handled it really well. And the other day after the Teddy news, like every TV outlet minus CTV was there. Right. And and there was the Free Press. I imagine the Sun. I didn't even know who some of the people worked for, and he handled it really, really well. These are all things that people don't really understand. That is so much different for a coach who really just focuses on basketball. And I thought, everybody's kind of been learning together, and I think there's a part of that plays into the trust of the team. I think there's an honesty there. Like, guys, I've never head coached before. Even as the assistant, I've seen it, but I've never had to be part of it. And I think there's a little bit of like, don't worry, coach, we got your back. And I think that might be the magic of this team, having a rookie head coach and a lot of guys that have played in this league before, but trust his abilities as a coach to say, like, okay, we're going to take care of it because we got your back because we know you have ours.
Well, you know what? It's funny you kind of say that, Joey. So after the Saskatoon game, Mike Rainbow goes up to the podium, answers a bunch of questions, and then as he's leaving the podium, he stops for a second and he looks at this room of reporters and says, "Hey, I just really want to thank you guys. You know, this has been obviously new for me having to deal with media so often and stuff. And I appreciate your guys' patience and professionalism and yada, yada, yada." And yeah, so I just thought that was pretty cool. I mean, there's not very many coaches who really in pro sports, excuse me, that really kind of spend a second kind of thinking about the media, which is fine. Like I whatever. We don't need to be friends with these head coaches or
No.
treated special or anything like it.
There's relationships that are built. And as you've seen, Taylor, like there's some reporters that have really sour ones with coaches. Coaches don't want to do it. Like we have a job to do, right? And I think there's an understanding there with Mike that sometimes I got to come in, I got to ask hard questions, but also like we're telling the good stories as well, right? Like we're telling the pressing story as it is. It's not really framed, it's how it's perceived. But sometimes, yeah, if you're going to lose a bunch of games and, things go out of whack, like the perception is things are, in turmoil. And, we got to ask those questions as to how you feel about it or how you're going to fix it. And they can't be easy to ask. So I 100% agree with this. I just want to bring this up. I'll hide this real quick, but Cam, stay tuned, buddy. Already in the works. So I love that you brought that up with the U Sports stuff. I cover U Sports throughout the winter. I've been doing game day reports. So if you go on my Instagram, much like you see on the game day reports for the Sea Bears, I've been doing weekly ones for Manitoba and the Westmen with about one a month on the Brandon Bobcats. So we're going to try and bring a little bit more on that with a show more like this as we get into the fall. So sorry to off track that, Taylor. But 100%, I think, Mike has done a wonderful job as a coach, but his job's not done. That's the other thing. The other thing, Mike Rainbow, almost got me again there, Cam. Mike Rainbow's never coached a series, I don't think. Right? Because every game in U Sports are one and dones, right? He's used to that pressure. He's used to that. I don't think it's going to be a massive difference, but it is interesting to note that, after game one, that'll be probably one of his first, if not his first playoff game of, okay, we didn't win it all. We got to go do it one more time. And we've got two chances to do it. So, it's one of those things where the urgency changes a little bit. And I'm curious, Taylor, how much does that play a factor in terms of like out of nowhere now? This is not a single elimination. Like, how do you prep for this game knowing it's like we used to say, right? Even going live in these shows, we talked about it. There's a different energy when we're live, right? A different excitement. When we record, that excitement's still there, but like we don't have that same, like, we don't have the comments coming through and we're, just kind of chatting between the two of us. But I think that might be a bit of an adjustment too. Like you're going on the road for this one game, but it kind of feels like this hybrid between a regular season game and a playoff game because the playoffs up to date in the CEBL have never had a series either.
Well, not to be cliche, but I think they have to kind of treat every game as if it is life and death, one and done, right? So I would be shocked if they're even mentioning the word series at all leading up to the game in Brampton, right? So, but yeah, I mean, that is interesting. I never really thought of that you're right, that this is the first series in league history. So that is super exciting for sure. But it is kind of crazy to think about, though, that we're here now talking about this team being in the finals, but yet how close it came for this to really not being a reality. I mean, yeah. Xavier Moon, when we had him on the other week, talking about how it was the last and final day, right, where he finally found out that he was getting that clearance from his club team in Russia and FIBA to be able to even play this summer. So imagine if that fell through, because at the time we were kind of talking, it's like, okay, well, obviously you want Xavier Moon, obviously you want him, but at that time beforehand, the Sea Bears were playing really well. So it's like, you know what, maybe they'd be okay without him. Not ideal, but I think they'd have the talent to get away with it. But considering everything that's happened, obviously it's like, my goodness, they would have been absolutely what if Xavier Moon did not get cleared. And yet that came down to the very, very, very last minute. So how lucky they are there. And then DJ Burns. I mean, this is a guy who's been kind of buried on the bench for most of the year, right? And this team was really one import signing away from him being the odd man out and, him being out of here, right? Like, imagine if they sign another guard or a 6'5", American small forward type player and DJ Burns was let go. And then they got to this point. It's like, oh shoot, like Simon is truly our only, starting caliber big left. Like they would have been in deep, deep trouble there as well. So yeah, it's just kind of funny how two little things like that, how things that could have happened didn't happen, and that could be the difference in you being a championship team or being an easy elimination round one of the playoffs.
Well, I'll say this, Tay. Of all the players, like impact players that they lost this year, Trey Scott, Jeremiah Tillman Jr., Emmanuel Acott, Teddy Allen. And Trey Scott was coming off the bench, but that's a starter, right? So technically you could say like 4 starting caliber guys, award-winning guys. Out of all of them, this is the perfect worst scenario for Winnipeg. You lost all of them but Xavier. If you have one of those guys and not Xavier, I don't think we're in this situation. That's how great of a player Xavier Moon is, how impactful he is. I think this was not a great situation, and everybody had a reason to panic a little bit. And as I said at the time, I didn't think that, Saskatoon was suddenly this like sky high favorite, but I did think it was a lot more even and they had the advantage. But I kept saying, if you gave me this team at the start of the year, not knowing the other guys were ever going to be involved, people would have been very excited just because of Xavier Moon. And I think this has been the proof in the pudding here in the playoffs of just how much better he is than the average basketball player in this league. Not a lot of guys can take over. We've seen Teddy take over. Teddy Allen has the ability, but not with the consistency. And Teddy's is a lot more with how he can create for himself and get unorthodox shots off from unorthodox areas and hit them at a high rate. Xavier Moon can facilitate everybody. Even when he's scoring, there's facilitation going on, right? Where he has guys complementing his game while he's complementing theirs. It is phenomenal basketball to watch. You guys are watching an NBA level point guard who's played 28 games in the NBA. And I would argue if it weren't for contractual stuff, he would have played even more if it weren't for some of the politics that are involved in, NBA basketball. I'm not making excuses. Just, guys are making tens of millions of dollars and they got to play. So it's harder for him to find the floor time. But he is a phenomenal, phenomenal point guard. And I think we just got to enjoy it too, right? Who knows? I would hope he's back next year. But he took 4 years off in between his last CBL stint in this one. So if these are the last couple to 3 games that we see Xavier Moon playing, just take it all in. Hope that he comes back next year, and I'm sure there'd be if they win, there'd certainly be a sense of excitement to come back. But all I'm saying is these players don't come around too often. So I think in this last week of CEBL basketball, even the Trenton Flowers of the world, take these in because these might be guys that we're going to be talking about for years to come and think like, wow, I can't believe these guys came through, the CEBL. Like a Warren Moon came through the CFL before the NFL, right? Like you never know how these guys end up here, but then they could end up having phenomenal careers elsewhere. So I think those are guys that we really got to keep an eye on and think like, how lucky are we to see these guys competing at our peak moment at our highest level of basketball is pretty phenomenal.
So before we put a cap on things, Joey, I think let's make it official with our finals predictions.
Okay.
Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3 if you foresee there being one. So I'll put you on the spot first. What's your prediction? Take me through it, the whole series.
Okay. I think Game 1, it's going to be close, but high scoring. Can't really give you a score. I'm going to say in the 90s. There will possibly the hundreds, but definitely the 90s.
Maybe even the 80s. Potentially even the 70s. Maybe even the 110s.
Possibly the 40s. Imagine
I'd like that. That'd be awesome.
That would suck. I would love to be a sideline reporter for that game and not a play-by-play guy for that game. No, I would say it's going to be in the 90s, and Winnipeg is going to narrowly win that game. And then they're going to come to Winnipeg in Game 2 and rake the Brampton Honey Badgers over the coals and put it to bed in a convincing fashion.
Okay.
Your turn.
Okay. I mean, are there any Winnipeggers out there that want to make me an offer? Send me a nice little prize or something, and pick Brampton, because clearly, whenever I pick against the Sea Bears, they end up winning. So I'm just saying, you got 10 seconds here to to make me an offer. But no, unfortunately, probably too late for that. Joey, honestly, yeah, I think the Sea Bears got it, but I think they're gonna do it kind of the hard way. I think in Brampton, I think the Honey Badgers are going to take game one. And then game two, I think they're going to take game one kind of convincingly. And
Okay.
then game two in Winnipeg, I think the Sea Bears are going to take that one convincingly. And then game three, Winnipeg, Sunday, I think it's going to go down to the wire. Both teams neck and neck, going back and forth, trading blow for blow. Sean East, Xavier Moon, everybody. But at the end of the day, Xavier Moon hits the game winner and he already is, but he even cements himself even more so as the greatest player in CEBL history. So Sea Bears in 3.
Okay. And here we got Matt Bonomi coming in the nick of time. Was once Winnipeg's favorite out of market CEBL personality. Says he's going to send you 2 L's, Taylor. He's saying that it's going to be Brampton in 2, I guess. But yeah. Hey, listen, man, it's going to be a fun week. We got programming all along. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. The likes help as well. So even for all you every timers, I know you do it all the time anyway. Hit the like button. And if you're watching on Instagram, at Target Score Podcast on YouTube, same for those that are listening. And same for those listening in the audio form. Give us a review. Give us give us a like on there. Make sure that you're subscribed, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we're there. And let's go along for the ride. Hey, we're going to be live in Brampton throughout the week. We're going to be there starting Tuesday, so that's tomorrow, and we'll be back here on Thursday for our regular scheduled programming. Taylor's going to pop in where he can because Taylor's got the unfortunate. Too bad the bye week wasn't this week, eh, guy? For the Blue Bombers.
Would have been ideal.
Yeah,
but that's okay. I'll be dialed in. I can multitask.
He's a great multitasker, so we will have him there as well. And of course, hey, anybody want to get on the sponsorship opportunities for this week on the live shows? Hit me up at Joey Slattery TV. You can hit us up at Target Score Pod on Instagram. Both of those are Instagram, and at Taylor Allen 31 on Instagram. This has been fun. Thanks for everybody that's tuning in this morning. The excitement is real. We've had quite a few viewers coming in and out here in this morning. In this early morning, at least for us sports people, Taylor, early morning episode. Appreciate you coming out. There you have it down below as well on the banner for those watching on Instagram. Make sure that you're getting in on the YouTube side of things, and you can scan there for the Target Score podcast. What's the word I'm looking for? QR code? Yeah, that's what those are, right? QR codes. Hit that QR code, and yeah. We'll see you on here. Stay tuned. Have those notifications on. It's been great having everybody here this morning. We will see you tomorrow. Taylor, you'll be here as well. Thanks for everything, buddy. Go Sea Bears.
See you, man.